In this video, I'm going to show you how Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette are related to each other. I did previously the family tree of Marie Antoinette, and it turns out that she was quite a Habsburg. You can check that video on my channel. I do have a lot more family trees and portrait recreations, the link's in the description. So thank you for watching, subscribe for more trees, and let me know in the comments who you want to see next. Louis XVI's father was the Dauphin of France, who predeceased Louis XV. So Louis XVI was brought up by his grandfather the king. His mother was Maria Josepha of Saxony. She was very much Polish, Austrian, and German. We will start off with her side of the family. Her family begins in the same way as Marie Antoinette's, with Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. They had many children, and one daughter became Queen of Portugal, and the other daughter, Joanna the Mad, married the Holy Roman Emperor Philip I. This was in the late 1400s. Joanna had Charles, Ferdinand, and Isabella, and it is Ferdinand and Isabella who are relevant for Maria of Saxony. So the way this family tree works is like the spirograph. Circles after circles, and it makes a picture, and that is what you're going to see. Isabella of Austria is pretty easy to understand. She had Christina of Denmark, who married Francis the Duke of Lorraine. The Dukes of Lorraine go directly down to Leopold, Duke of Lorraine, and I will refer back to Marie Antoinette's family tree a lot throughout this video because there are many ancestors who I show in her family tree video. The Dukes of Lorraine are one of them, and they go directly to Marie Antoinette's paternal grandfather, Leopold, Duke of Lorraine. Anyways, Francis and Christina have Renata of Lorraine, and she married Duke William of Bavaria, her second cousin. Duke William is the son of Anna of Austria. So Ferdinand had two daughters, Maria of Austria and Anna of Austria. Anna had Duke William and also Maria Anna. Maria Anna's line is not entirely relevant in this tree, which is why she is faded. She married her uncle Charles II, the Archduke of Austria, and eventually their descendants became Anne of Austria, who married Louis XIII of France, and Leopold I, the Holy Roman Emperor. However, that is not for another 100 years. Anyways, going back to the Duke and Renata, they had a child, Magdalene. Magdalene married her cousin Wolfgang William, Count Palatine. Wolfgang was the son of Anna of Cleves. Now, she is not one of Henry's 6 wives, that's a different girl. But remember her name, Anna of Cleves, the non-Henry's wife. We are going to refer to her again. Now going back to Ferdinand, his other daughter was Maria of Austria. I introduced Anna of Cleves in Marie Antoinette's family tree video, but now I'm going to add one more daughter to Maria of Austria, Marie Eleanor of Cleves. Marie Eleanor had Mary and Magdalene Sibyl of Prussia. Magdalene had 2 children, a son, Johann George II, Elector of Saxony, and Sophie Eleanor, Landgravine of Hesse-Darmstadt. We'll get to Johann later, but Sophie had Elizabeth, who married Philip. Philip was the child of Wolfgang and Magdalene. They had Eleanor Magdalene, and she married Leopold I, the Holy Roman Emperor. Together, they had 2 children, Joseph and Charles. Charles is in my Marie Antoinette video, and basically, he created Marie Antoinette's mom. Joseph is new. He is Maria of Saxony's maternal grandfather. He married Wilhelmine Amalie of Brunswick, and they had Maria's mom, Maria Josepha of Austria. So let's talk about her ancestry, Wilhelmine Amalie of Brunswick. You see, James VI of Scotland and I of England had 2 children, King Charles I of England and Elizabeth Stuart. Charles's daughter became the first wife of Philippe Duc d'Orléans, which we will tackle later in this video. Elizabeth, though, she married Frederick V, Elector Palatine, and they had 2 boys. Edward, Prince Palatine of the Rhine, his granddaughter became Wilhelmine, so that is Maria Josepha of Austria's line. Maria Josepha married King Augustus III of Poland, and we will get to him soon. Edward's brother, though, Charles Louis Elector Palatine, his daughter became the second wife of Philippe Duc d'Orléans. Okay, let's pause and breathe. What this means is King James VI of Scotland and I of England. His granddaughter married Philippe. Then his great-granddaughter also married Philippe. So, if you watched Versailles, the series, or are familiar with the reign of Louis XIV and his brother Philippe, his wives were first cousins once removed. With Philippe's second wife, Elizabeth Charlotte Madame Palatine, they had Elizabeth d'Orléans, and with Elizabeth d'Orléans, she married the Duke of Lorraine, who had Francis I, Marie Antoinette's father. Francis I married Marie Antoinette's mother, Maria Therese of Austria, the daughter of Charles, the Holy Roman Emperor, and together they had Marie Antoinette. In other words, as well, Louis XVI's maternal grandmother was first cousin to Marie Antoinette's mom, making Louis's mother second cousins to Marie Antoinette. Alright, so that part is done. We will get to Philip's first wife later on because that relationship created Louis XVI. Johann George II, Elector of Saxony. Let's get back to him. I know you probably forgot about him already. His sister created Marie Antoinette's Austrian mother's line, but he will create the other half of Louis's mom, Augustus III of Poland. The way that worked was he married Magdalene Sibyl of Brandenburg-Bayreuth. She was the daughter of Mary of Prussia. So remember, Anna of Cleves, the non-Henry's wife, her sister, Marie of Cleves, had two children, Mary of Prussia and Magdalene of Prussia. Mary's daughter married Johann. They were first cousins. They had Johann George III, who had Augustus II of Poland. So the Polish elected their kings. Augustus was elected despite being German, and he married Christine of Brandenburg-Bayreuth. Brandenburg-Bayreuth, same family. So Mary of Prussia had another boy, Erzman, Prince of Brandenburg-Bayreuth. His granddaughter was Christine, so Augustus and Christine were second cousins. And they have a child, Augustus III, who was the father of Maria Josepha of Saxony. So even though her father was the king of Poland, his ancestry is mainly German. As you can see, Maria Josepha's line is connected to Marie Antoinette, so you can imagine her in the Dresden castle, a teenager waiting her fate of marriage. Her uncle proposed that she marry the Dauphin. The only problem was her father, King Augustus III, deposed Louis XV's wife, Marie Leschenska's father, off the Polish throne. So for the French queen to have Augustus's daughter as her daughter-in-law would be humiliating, yet the marriage still took place. So she married the Dauphin, who was Louis XV's daddy, and he died when he was 36 of tuberculosis. Maria then died 15 months later of depression. It was a devastating blow, and she was 35. The Dauphin's father was Louis XV, who married the Polish princess Marie Leschenska. Her father used to be the king of Poland. Her ancestry is completely Polish, though at least in her recent history. So Louis XV is the old king we see in all the Marie Antoinette movies. And how did he become him? Well, we need to go to the first Bourbon king of France, Henry IV, who became king in 1589. He was the king of Navarre as a separate kingdom, but also a 10 times descendant of an old king of France back in the 1200s. You see, there was this thing called the War of the Three Henrys, when the current king of France, Henry III of the House of Valois, couldn't produce an heir. So which distant cousin would get the throne next? Henry III was Henry I, and he killed his rival Henry III. The people thought it was a cheap shot, so killed Henry I, and through a process of elimination and the promise to convert to Catholicism, Henry II of Navarre got the throne. 300 years ago, his king ancestor was Louis IX of France in the 1200s. Their house was Capet. Then, through 300 years of marriage, this distant heir was born into the House of Bourbon, and that's why he is the first Bourbon French king. He had his queen, Marie de Medici, and a mistress whom he loved dearly, Gabrielle d'Estrées. Gabrielle had Caesar, his illegitimate son, who had Elizabeth and then Marie-Jeanne. With his queen, he had 3 children, the next king, his daughters Christine and Elizabeth. Elizabeth is fated because she is connected to this tree, but I will show you later. We will get to Christine in a moment, but let's first go to his son and heir, Louis XIII. Louis XIII married Anne of Austria, and as you can see through this faint line, which I go into much more detail in Marie Antoinette's video, she is a descendant of Ferdinand I, Holy Roman Emperor, so there's some Habsburg blood. France and Austria had two boys, the famous Sun King Louis XIV and his younger brother Philippe, Duc d'Orléans. So Philippe now, I told you we would get back to him. He married Henriette of England, his first wife, and they had Anne-Marie d'Orléans. She married Victor Amadeus, the second Duke of Savoy. So, who was this fancy man? Well, this thick-thighed majesty with tights tight enough to show off his meaty and muscular calves was a descendant of the Portuguese queen I mentioned at the very beginning of this video. So here's Marie Antoinette's family tree. I began the video with Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabel of Castile. They had two daughters, Maria of Portugal and Joanna the Mad, who married the Holy Roman Emperor. So Maria of Portugal, as much as her line goes, to Marie Antoinette's family, through a daughter, through a male line, which were the Dukes of Savoy, you have Victor I, Charles, and then Victor II. So back to Louis's family tree, here's Victor II. His father was Charles, who married the illegitimate great-granddaughter of Henry IV of France, and Charles's father was Victor I. Victor I married Christine of France, who was Henry IV's legitimate daughter. Apart from Charles, the Duke of Savoy, they had a daughter, Henriette of Savoy. Henriette married Ferdinand, Elector of Bavaria. He is a blue line because he is connected to Ferdinand I, the Holy Roman Emperor. Here's Marie Antoinette's family tree. Here is Henriette, and he is all the way over here. His parents were Maria Anne of Austria and Maximilian I, Elector of Bavaria. Maximilian was the brother to Maria Anna and Magdalene of Bavaria, while his wife, Maria Anne of Austria, was the sister of Ferdinand III, the Holy Roman Emperor. So then the two had Ferdinand Maria, Elector of Bavaria. So Ferdinand and Henriette got married and had Maria Anna Victoria of Bavaria in the 1600s. And if we go back to Louis's tree, here she is. She married the Grand Dauphin, Louis. The Grand Dauphin was the son of Louis XIV, the Sun King, and Marie-Thérèse of Spain. Marie-Thérèse was sister to Charles II of Spain, the inbred king. If we go back to Marie Antoinette's family tree, here is Marie-Thérèse. Her parents were Philip IV of Spain, which I do have a video on him telling about his story and how his daughter became the wife of the Sun King. And with his first wife, Elizabeth of France, they had Marie-Thérèse. Elizabeth of France was the daughter of Henry IV and his queen wife, Marie de Medici. So Philip IV of Spain married Elizabeth and had Marie-Thérèse of Spain. Then Elizabeth died and Philip married his niece, Mariana. With his second wife, he had the inbred and disabled Charles II. So Charles II's older half-sister, Marie-Thérèse of Spain, married Louis XIV, and together they had Louis the Grand Dauphin, who married Maria Anna Victoria of Bavaria. They had Louis, Duke of Burgundy, and he married Marie Adelaide of Savoy, the daughter of the Duke of Savoy, Victor II, and his wife, Anne-Marie d'Orléans, the daughter of Philippe Duc d'Orléans and his first wife, Henriette. So Louis, Duke of Burgundy, married his paternal second cousin, and together Burgundy and Savoy had Louis XV. Louis XV became Louis XV because his father and grandfather both died before Louis XIV perished. So Louis XV was the great-grandson of Louis XIV. And there we go. His grandson would become Louis XVI, and that is how he is related to Marie Antoinette. I guess their closest relation would be second cousins once removed through his mother and her mother. Louis would be the last Bourbon king of France to rule, except for the brief restoration after the Revolution. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, then subscribe for more trees, as each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. I do make a list of all your suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.